take the score along at the close of play to 342 for 9. Bracewell 1 not out and Watson 1 not out. The bowling figures for England, Dilley and Edmonds outstanding. Dilley 35 overs, 9 maidens, 3 for 82, and Edmonds 42 overs, 10 maidens, 4 for 97, with a wicket to Radford and 1 also to Graham Gooch. The statistics at the end of the day show that New Zealand were 35 runs ahead. Those 35 runs just could be very valuable. Still 1 wicket to take, although you shouldn't hold your breath for too many more runs to be added there by the New Zealand trade at the start. In fact, it was only just before the players came onto the field that they eventually wheeled off the covers, and it looked as though we'd get away to what was a reasonably prompt start. Bruce French, the man who is at the centre of a lot of discussion over the weekend about the substitution of wicket keepers, came out onto the field for England today. So too did Peter Willey. It wasn't for very long because the whole thing only lasted 1 ball. Graham Dilley, who thoroughly deserved 4 wickets, finished up having Willie Watson LBW with the very first ball of the day. So there was dismay for Willie Watson, pleasure for Graham Dilley, and the card at the close showed absolutely no change from when the players had walked out onto the ground. 342, Willie Watson LBW bowled Dilley for 1, and the not-out batsman John Bracewell on 1. I wonder how long it is, if ever, since an England wicketkeeper, or one from any country for that matter, has been on the field throughout an innings for just 1 ball. Very, very interesting question for you to win some money on. So the card for New Zealand, 342, and the bowling figures for England show that Dilley picked up 4 wickets to match Edmonds. They both thoroughly deserved their success there. They were the 2 outstanding performers on Saturday. And the match situation, as England were preparing to come out to bat, was that New Zealand were 35 runs ahead. Now, that is going to be a very interesting situation so far as the Englishmen are concerned, because going back to the Test match here against India, it was in the second innings that the England batting failed, and they had to come up against Richard Hadlee out there this morning, bowling with a new ball on a pitch that was very good for batting, but still had just a little bit of life in it. Here's the 5th ball of the 3rd over. 6 runs are on the board. It is Hadlee coming in. Graham Gooch is taking strike.
Well, he's obviously landing comfortably enough now. Richard Hadlee, tremendous ball that.
Well, he's turned Graham Gooch right round there. He's wound up with shoulders facing straight up the pitch, and this beautiful ball cutting away. Marvellous piece of bowling.
And that one took off from similar length. It's a beautiful length. Great model to all young fast bowlers watching. That's it. Great merit of the ball, well up to the bat. And Martin Moxon has gone. Beautiful bowling by Richard Hadlee. Very confident appeal. Less emphatic than usual, but umpire Dickie Bird had no hesitation there at all.
Well, this is well up. Looked as though it was going to go down the leg side, but it swung and got right under Martin Moxon's feet.
And that's Bill Athey.
Bill Athey.
Just that late swing which straightened the ball. Caught Martin Moxon, I think, on the back pad. LBW bowled Hadlee for 5, so England are 9 for 1 and still behind. Last ball of the over that, so now it's Willie Watson to bowl to Graham Gooch. Oh, that's a beautiful shot. Though Graham Gooch has been struggling through mediocre form lately, that's the one shot he still plays quite brilliantly. Ball pitched well up on leg stump.
Really whistled away down the ground.
A little bit of in-swing, and Gooch has just cracked it straight back where it came from.
2 runs behind as Hadley comes in again from the pavilion end. Wasn't sure that it actually carried to short leg. It didn't look to me as though it quite reached him. Shouts for that catch came from the slip area. Down it goes. No, Hadley, I think, has justification not to be happy with that. It was as straightforward as any slip catch can be. Would have been a great breakthrough.
Well, Ian Smith has impressed me as keeping especially well this season, and that's the first major mistake I've seen him make. And that could be very costly for New Zealand.
It's a very, very nasty delivery, that last one. Just cancelled at Ian Smith. That's the one that whistled past Athy.
So Athy drawn into the shot again, the ball ripping away from him up the slope. So another sort of knife edge over for the batsman, but again Athy has survived.
Always a certain amount of apprehension in the batsman's mind when he's up against a great bowler. Beautiful. Good reply.
It's an excellent hook shot from Bill Athy. His thoughts, like everybody, be moving forward to the Australia tour this winter. Jeremy Coney tried his part-time seamers, himself and Martin Crowe, in the first innings, but they helped to get England on their way. He's trying to block up the end which Hadley isn't bowling from, and leaving their supreme bowler to do most of the attacking work on his own.
There's a great stroke. For some reason, Hadley's got those 2 men much wider today. The one who was pretty much at mid-off in the first innings is now at extra cover. There's 2 cracking strokes in this over. This is Hadley's 8th over on the trot.
Graham Gooch has had some problems with his offside strokes this season. No problem with that one. And the England 50 coming up in 87 balls. Evan Gray is bowling to a very defensive field from the nursery end. So it's very much a holding operation from the nursery end as Hadley attacks from the pavilion end. Evan Gray taking a lesson from Phil Edmonds' book. Great fielding off his own bowling.
Hadley, in fact, has finished his spell now. 8 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 35. Good attacking spell, but good cricket too from Graham Gooch. He's got on to 35 now, and he hasn't actually pushed Hadley out of the attack, but made certain that he took as much of him as possible. Made some good strokes towards the end, and now it's to be Martin Crowe.
Well, if no one else has got the message, I think Martin Crowe has. Ball a bouncer to Gooch at that speed, that medium speed. Really asking for trouble. And with that 4, the 50 partnership between Gooch and Athey comes up in 80 balls. That's his great strength. Graham Gooch has battled with his technique right throughout this season, and part of the trouble is he gets onto the front foot, lifts his back and pirouettes.
Evan Gray is going to bowl, left arm round the wicket spin.
Bowled him. Well, Bill Athey breaks the rule for sweeping. Always taught to keep the front leg in line with the ball, but this time he's inside the line, misses the ball, loses leg stump.
And Bill Athey will be livid with himself. Didn't cover the leg stump with the front pad. You could see it there exposed all the while. And England can ill afford to lose a wicket at this stage. 68 for 2 now. And a disappointing end to Bill Athey's contribution.
That's a useful blow for New Zealand, Bob. They really fiddled the wicket out there, did they not?
Absolutely, Tony. I think they're looking on any wicket that Richard Hadlee doesn't get as a bit of a bonus.
And there's much more chance of Gray getting some turn now to the left-hander from that rough ground just outside off stump, and so he does. John White is the fielder at mid-on. Martin Crowe gets away with a blatant full toss on leg stump.
And the New Zealand fielding been one of the features of the morning's play. They've run and dived for everything.
Yes, and by so doing, they've made certain they've backed up some excellent bowling out there this morning. There was just one more run scored over the next 4 overs up to lunch to take it along to 72 for 2 with Gooch 47 and Gower 3. Bowling figures, I thought Richard Hadlee bowled remarkably well again. This morning, 8 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 35. Had all the batsmen in trouble. Gooch took to him just a little bit. It was a marvellous battle out there. And Evan Gray, 8 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 6. You don't find too many bowlers able to have the luxury of figures like that at the home of cricket. So at lunchtime on the 4th day, it was England 307 and 72 for 2. New Zealand 342. England 37 runs ahead with 8 wickets in hand in their second innings. Well, after lunch, when England really had to make certain they didn't lose any more wickets, John Bracewell finished off the 3 balls he had to bowl to complete the over from the pavilion end. Here's the first over after the interval bowled from the nursery end. Evan Gray, the left-arm spinner, is the bowler. It's the 5th ball, and he's bowling to David Gower. Oh, that's beautifully bowled by Evan Gray. Completely deceived Gower in the flight. That's what did him. Started off down the track to drive, was beaten in the flight, changed to a defensive stroke, and then was bowled. Beautiful bowling. Mike Gatting, the skipper. Peter Willey, who has been out of action for part of this match because of being struck on the knee by Willie Watson and then aggravating it with a dive in the gully. And now it's going to be Richard Hadlee. Nasty way for a start for 3 runs if Gooch wants to come back. Not happy with the 2. Willie Watson, man backing up, and John Bracewell, the fielder. For the right-hander, there's 2 steps gully, cover point. Then there's a man up mid-off and a whitish mid-on. There's no big swing of the bat about that, but the timing was absolutely superb. There's his 50, 85 balls and 7 boundaries. Evan Gray now bowling to Gatting. Would have been very unlucky had that ball flown another yard. It came off the pad and then onto Gatting's glove, not far away from Kearney. And here's Hadley. Gooch is taking strike. That's well bowled. Oh, dear me.
This has to be very close indeed. Seemed to hit Gatting right on the toe end.
Oh, and that was very, very close and very well handled. Wonderful ball. Came nipping back down the hill. As I spoke, he's pushed that left leg in there at the last second.
Good shot for 3.
Strong southwesterly winds.
Clever piece of work there by Mike Gatting. Straighter ball, and he's cut it away, and the way it's running, it's so nearly, and yes it is, 4. Just rolled up against the ropes.
So the skipper, Jeremy Coney, reopens negotiations with his off-spinner, John Bracewell. Natural end from which to bowl for John Bracewell, the pavilion end. Richard Hadley goes off with figures of 14 overs, 1 for 47. And Gooch breaks with convention. Superb example of how a batsman tries to dominate before the bowler settles. Plenty of space in the outbacks there. So now Gatting decides to make his move. There is a fascinating sequence of cricket at both ends of the pitch at the moment.
And Mike Gatting's given himself a lot of room there. Didn't get very close to the pitch of that, but he's got a very good, clean, straight swing of the bat, and he collected it.
And the 100 came up then for England. 248 balls. So Evan Gray goes away with odd question buzzing in his head there. But it's really as fascinating a cricket to see two good spinners Gray bowling very tightly indeed. Two class players trying to break out, both hitting over the top. Neither spinner putting a man back to block it, saying, OK, try once, have another go if you like. Oh, there it goes, and that's why Bracewell refused to put a man out there, because he invited the miss hit. And Graham Gooch is very lucky that that didn't carry to deepish and straight mid-wicket. There's no man right back there. It went with the spin. Very profitable corner that off Gray, just slanting the ball across the batsman, and if they can run it off the open face back there. Now they've put a man there for Gatting but not for Gooch, and that's why Gooch gets 3. I thought it looked as if the batsman had been offered the light and said they'd stay on. Now they're offered again.
Well, off they went and took an early tee. They did come back after tea, but not a ball was bowled. The umpires had the light meters out again. Light had deteriorated. They went off the field, and despite quite a number of inspections and holding out of light meters at great length, they couldn't get back on the field. Always very sad that, because there was a decent crowd here at Lord's. They were watching a very, very good contest, with England finishing up at the close of play with 110 for 3 in their second innings. Gatting was playing some pleasing strokes for 21 not out, and Gooch getting back to his best form, unbeaten on 64. New Zealand bowling figures: very fine effort from Evan Gray, 18.5 overs, 9 maidens, 2 for 25, and Hadley at his best again today, 14 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 47. And when stumps were pulled for the day, England 75 runs ahead. In effect, they're 75 for 3. Game, it would need New Zealand to strike very, very quickly.